Hello, good morning, and happy Wednesday. I am a bit early today. I was able to get up about half an hour earlier than normal. Decided not to go back to sleep and just do my normal daily routine from there, which means half an hour early with streaming. It's also Wednesday. Usually, I have to end the stream shortly after 8 o'clock, so half an hour extra is actually really nice in this case. All right, so what are we working on today? We're gonna add another shape to this, which is gonna be a triangle shape. So last time we found this resource from CSS Tricks, basically creating a triangle with CSS. All right, so they're suggesting we only need a single div. Let's just follow this and sort of just try and see how it works. So we have our background triangle here. We have our single div, and we can create our CSS for that. So okay, there we go. Are you used? Not yet. Okay, so we may be creating 5 triangles, but there's really nothing that's happening with that. Although if we go look in here, we should be able to find them, right? Yeah, so these are background triangles. Are they in random places throughout here? Let's see, we have. This is probably a triangle. It has no size. That's a triangle. Very interesting. Oh, right. It's making one of each of them. Okay, so it's not random order. It's making one of each, one of each, one of each, one of each. Okay, great. Good to know. Back to you. All right, so we can just have a simple div apparently that does this. The idea is a box with 0 width and height. The actual width and height of the arrow is determined by the width of the border. In an up arrow, for example, the bottom border is colored, while the left and right are transparent, which forms the triangle. So this is what they're suggesting here. So an arrow up, we'll have a border left and a border right. Which, okay, then that gives us, oh, you make that transparent, and then bottom is, interesting. Okay, well, we have a bright background, so I can use this exactly, and I think that should work. So let's try arrow up. So we'll do a width. So you want to be border left. Border left is going to be size. Oh, Interesting. So you have it be the same size, you just have to be transparent. So if we do something like let's do exactly like 5 pixels, solid, transparent. And you make border right. And then border bottom, the only difference is that it's solid and black. I don't know if you can see it very well, but right up here, there are a bunch of triangles stacked on top of each other. And that's because we're not putting them in the right positions. So that's where they're sitting, right underneath there. Okay, so if I also give it a position, and then we're gonna have a top and a bottom. So then our props, we're gonna need a X. Rather, let's just do like top. Let's see. Where do I want to do this? Okay, so probably like the DVH. What was I doing with the other ones? I was doing rem. Oh no, that's width and height. I was doing DVH for dynamic view height. Okay, so, oh wait, I need to actually do the things here. What are you up? Oh, you need to be public. Okay, and now our triangles are spread throughout. Okay, that's great. All right, next up, we want to increase the size. Let's see what the tutorial still has. Well, I can also change their color to match everything else. And the color is this RGBA. So I really want this to be border left. Okay, so you are going to be this RGBA, I believe. Yeah, okay, I can barely see them, but they are there and they're the right color. Okay, great. It's really interesting that the way that you want them to point is the opposite that the border you want going is. Oh, here it is. Okay. For an equilateral triangle, it's worth pointing out that the height is 86.6% of the width. So border length width plus border right width times 0.866 equals border bottom width. Okay, so I want to do a size. We can use calc, I believe, in CSS. So if I have like a pub size, that's a U8. Okay, so the width and height doesn't get used here. I think this is where that is. And I wonder if it's not going to be pixels. Can I use rem with that? I guess like let's continue on with their sort of like their tutorials. We'll do size. Now the border bottom here, I want to do calc. I guess like I'll just do size for right now. It won't be an equilateral triangle. All right, so there's our triangles. These need to be a lot bigger. But if I want to make them equilateral, all right, so right now with this 19, let's make this like 190. Okay, now I want to make that equilateral, which means that left and right is going to be the same here, and then this is going to be a calc of 190. What is it? 190 plus 190 plus divided by? I think that's what it was. Oh no, times 190 plus 190. Take U. Multiply that by 0.866, I think. Times 0.866. And then that's going to be our pixels here, which you don't like. Invalid property value. So I can't do a calc at this position. Oh, I have to do specific sizes here. Oh, okay. Got it. Okay. Guy from Mars, hello. So you need to be pixels times pixels times 86%. It doesn't like that. Invalid property value still. Oh, I can't also use parentheses in there? Okay, so what is 190 plus 190? That's like what? 2, 3, plus 9 is 3, oh. So 380? Can I do? No, it doesn't like that either. How about you if I don't put on a percent? Oh, okay, I like that. And there we have this. Okay, so I need to do the math ahead of time and then do the single calc in there. So, okay, got it. So we want our sort of like the bottom size. So that bottom bottom side all right, so this is the size times size plus size. We're gonna do size plus size, and then I want that to be times 0.866. Except these, okay, this is a floating point number, and these are U8s, so I need to convert these into F32s first. That's great, and then as soon as this is done, we want to then convert this back into a U8. And now, okay, so our border bottom, here we have a calc. So it's going to be, I want the sizes together. Oh, bottom side. I just do bottom side like this. Okay, so those look like the appropriate size. And then if we change all of these pixels to rems, those are really big. However, they are equilateral, so there is that. Although some of them are not that big. Some of them are the appropriate sizes. I think we should clamp down on what these can be. So random size 0 to 20, probably 0 to like 15. So I'd rather have more smaller ones. Also, okay, 0, it should never be a random size, right? We should do something like you can be between 5 and 15. And let's do maybe like 15 of these. Okay, that's maybe too much. It's not too bad. I wonder if I can make them even more transparent. So that would be back to here. Okay, so for a background circle, what if I do 0.01? Oh, it doesn't like that. I don't see any errors. Oh, is it just... Oh, I actually can see them. They're really... Okay, so this is way too dim.
I am who I say I am.
So 0.05 might be good. So that being said, I would like to be able to... This like how dim they are, let's have this be a property that we pass in. So we can define it once in a background and then they all follow that. So we can do something like I can do the color as a string too. So like color equals, I want you to be herb blue A. Okay, and we can pass this in as a property to everything too. So background triangle, you get a property. And Okay, so I've got those. Now, a lot of unhappy things. Let's see, create the CSS. Let's just pass in the props. You need the size passed in, or the color passed into all these. Oh, you're taking ownership, so I need to clone you. Okay, so that's happy now. That is very bright. That's not exactly what I expected. Background color is just this 13. Right, okay, so I want you to be, well, that's interesting. Why are you just 13? Shouldn't you... Okay, let's go see what the CSS actually is. Yeah, background color RGBA 255.0.0.0.5. Okay, so that's you. Okay, you're set here properly. If I do 0.05, okay, you're correct. So this background color got set correctly. And you are one of the circles. Okay, but how about you? Then you became just 13. You're correct. You're incorrect. That's a square. Oh, color, you're not being used. Well, that would do it. Also, we need to set the background color to be proper. You need to be 0.05. Okay, so we have triangle. You're using color here correctly. Background circle. You're using color. Let's try that. There we go. Okay, so now we have all of these background shapes. And they're all displaying. So I can then put a whole bunch of stuff on top of this, and hopefully this should be something sort of like interesting to see, but it should also fade into the background and not be something we really pay attention to unless you're actually looking for it. That's the plan, at least, design-wise. So that is add triangles to the background. So triangles. Now, I like to do a commit first and then look at what refactorings we can do. That way, if I screw that up, I can go ahead and fix it. Diablo D3, hello. Nothing too much up. I was able to get up earlier today, so that's why I'm sort of like in the middle of it now, as opposed to just getting started. All right. So one thing, I want to move these all into here, into this components here. So I want to just take you and you, throw you in there. Mod, you're now gonna be. Okay, so make you happy. Background, you need to find out how to find you. Now, if I'm putting components in here, it would make sense to put this in here as well. Oh, Uncle Scientist just finished his stream, and you're continuing to avoid adult responsibility by coming here. Well, I'm glad to host your procrastination habit. I do the same thing though, so yeah. Well, welcome. We can procrastinate together. Okay, so background's really your component too. Although these are different types of components. So like these are like individual little things. So like the atomics, the elements, let's create a folder for that. So let's do atoms. I'm still not completely sure I like the word atoms for this. I don't have a better one yet. Maybe like elements, maybe? But then what would the other ones be? I'm not sure exactly yet. So I'm gonna keep it on atoms until I have something better, then I can fix it. So I'll have modded RS in here. And you three go in there. Okay, so I don't need to mod you anymore. Okay, so now background, where would that be? This is a component that's made up of other components, and that's pretty much it. It's not going to be it's going to be used, and then it's not really configurable outside of this. So I guess like the next one up would be molecules. X11 calls named type properties atoms. Oh, really? Interesting. I haven't done much X11 programming. I looked into it a little bit when I was a sysadmin, but I never really ended up needing to build like GUI tools. So I never got into it. Okay, so you're all happy. You're not happy. So create background circle. So to get access to this, we're going to, really, we can just go one up. Super, that gets me to this mod here. And then we can go to atoms, right? Hold on. What if I just ask you to bring you in? Oh, you don't know how to bring it in. Use super atoms. Yeah, that did not work. It couldn't find it. So that's not the way to get to it. Do I need 2 supers before I go to? Oh, so atoms just gets me to this mod, and then 1 more super. So that's kind of annoying. So let's just go from the crate again. So we'll go crate, components, atoms, and then here's where then we can grab out our background circle, background square, and then triangle. Okay, I like that a little bit more. Library, you're upset. Right, we don't need to mod this anymore. So the library doesn't need to be aware of that, just the components. Use background. Okay, so then this is now going to be use components, molecules, background. All right, no errors, and everything seems to be happy, and everything is still here, so that's good. Okay, so that gives us this. Excellent. So we refactored. Okay, so we refactored the background components. To be in a better directory structure. All right. What else do I have to do for this? This type background thing. Now I did reset all of my AWS stuff, and I also reset my Pulumi thing. So we can also work on that too. Though I think I accidentally did that in the main branch and not in this branch. Let's see if I go. If we look at infrastructure, we have this user data still here. Oh, we have like an empty promise. Are these really just empty now? I mean, you're gonna be fine. Oh, so you have basically nothing in here. Great. And I bet if I... Yeah, then I have all this stuff. Okay. So I did not want... Okay. Oh, and you're published. So I accidentally did this work inside of the main branch, which means we're going to get a very fun merge conflict as soon as I try to push this in. I might as well deal with that now and get it over with. So I'm thinking I merge. I don't want to merge main into this. I want to go with the other one. So let's merge number 8 into main. Conflict. So our only conflict is inside of here. So that's fine. I like this. So we're going to accept the current change, which is going to be this one. And this is the one that I accidentally did in the wrong branch, but that's fine. So merged in, let's see, number 8. Okay, so that's happy now. Do a get push. Yeah, I could probably also do an auto stash with that as well, but it wasn't that it was a pull that was the problem. It was that I had accidentally done work that I meant to do in one branch in another branch, but then also push that up, which is not great. So if I do that, now I want to come back to get checkout number 8. Now I want to merge main back in here, and then we should be fine. Manually move the wrong branch backwards, push force or repush an array branch. Yeah, that's one possibility, but I want to be able to like keep what I did too. And I know I could probably cherry pick and do that kind of stuff, but this was easier and not necessarily a huge problem. So I'm okay with that. All right, so we have this, something else. Okay, so send up Pulumi. So right now, this just creates a bucket for us, which is where I've been sort of like looking through and remembering exactly how to create a CloudFront front end with this, because that's kind of like the point. That's what we want to do. Let me see if I can relog into AWS here. Okay. See, we got that. Oh, come on. Oh, I want the username first. Okay. Put you in there. All right, so what am I doing? We're going to CloudFront, and I'm sort of like taking a look at what is necessary for me to create the CloudFront distribution. So origin domain is going to be this S3 bucket that I've already created. I did a Pulumi up, and it's out there. Origin path, enter URL path to append the origin domain name for origin requests. I think slash is going to be fine, so I don't need to add that in there. Enter a name for this origin. That's probably... So what I'm thinking about doing now is we have this like S3 bucket, we have this type of thing. I'm thinking about, for infrastructure, creating, I can create like a folder with like AWS in it. And instead of like holding state or other things, I'm thinking of just having it be a not necessarily like a full facade in front of an AWS, but sort of like kind of the general idea. We're going to create functions that do these things, but with a better name that we control. So if they change the interface, I only change it there, and it makes a little bit more sense for us. I think that makes sense, maybe. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'll hold off and like I'll sort of like up this as like as we learn new stuff. This is gonna be our platform front end bucket. I want, like, if I want a CloudFront distribution, so it's gonna be our CloudFront distribution. Right now we only have one, so I'm okay with naming it that. And this is gonna be a new, so AWS, CloudFront distribution. So this is for the platform. So the platform CloudFront. All right, args, these are required. Default cache behavior is required. All right, so allowed methods is required. Cached methods is required. Target origin ID is required. All right, so let's take a look at these one at a time. So allowed methods. This is another, allowed methods is an array of strings. So I think for this, like we're grabbing stuff, you should only be doing a get and maybe like an option. I think that's the only thing that we would need. Oh, allowed HTTP methods. Okay, actually, default cache behavior. So I'm looking through the GUI, and the GUI actually suggests head, not option. So get head. Now there's also options too, but let's try the minimal ones that they suggest. So allowed methods that. Cached methods? You're required. You're also an array of strings. I don't see that as an option on AWS for cache methods, although that might be under like some other like name. What we can do is go to Pulumi's documentation and sort of like try to understand what exactly it's looking for. So Pulumi, you know what? I didn't really do a good job of transitioning over to this. So if you're not familiar with it, Pulumi is a really cool cloud control architecture tool. It is open source. It is free. You can pay for it. It's one of those like hosted, free for you to do personal stuff, eventually pay for it. It's somewhat like Terraform, except it's more programming based as opposed to configuration file based, which is why I like it. You can also bring your own code, as they say, your language. That being said, they have a fairly limited number of languages that they support right now. They just added Java, so we're using TypeScript for this. Another popular one is Python. I thought about using that, but they require the venv. What is it called? Like it's the that's like a virtual machine or something. I don't like it. It just sort of like feels clunky. I don't like it, so I'm gonna stay with TypeScript. So I at least get typings, and we're going with that. Okay, so I want to go to docs, API reference for AWS. I want to find, what is this called? This is CloudFront. And we want a distribution. Let's look at their, okay, so default cache behavior, cache methods, controls whether CloudFront caches the responses to requests using the specified HTTP methods. So like whether or not they're literally caching those methods or not. I think it's okay for them to cache both head and get, right? What do you suggest in, let's go to TypeScript. Yeah, cache methods, get and head are what they're suggesting here. I'm fine with that. So cache methods is the exact same thing. Target origin ID. So you are just a string. The value of ID for the origin that you want CloudFront to route request to when a request matches the path pattern either for a cache behavior or for the default cache behavior. So I think target origin ID, I think that's... That's not something I can choose, it looks like. In the GUI. I can set that under origin, but not under cached methods. So your target origin ID is this S3 origin ID. S3 origin ID is literally the string my S3 origin. Great. What does that even mean? Yeah, so sometimes documentation is not the best. Now they're creating these buckets here. Is that just a name? So origin ID, they name it here. So it knows that it's connected to it. The unique identifier of the member origin. I think it's just a string that we create that has to match. So sort of copying that, our target, so this is going to be the platform, CloudFront, origin ID is going to be, I guess, like S3 platform origin. Viewer protocol policy is next up that's required. That's a string. Use this element to specify the protocol that users can use to access the files in the origin specified. Oh, use one of allow all, HTTPS only, or redirect to HTTPS. I'm going to do the redirect to HTTPS. So that way, if you hit it with HTTP deployed, it just redirects you. Or are you setting it up this way and not using the AWS CLI? So I like doing it this way a little bit more because they're gonna they use the AWS CLI behind the scenes for me. So that way, so there's been a couple times that I've noticed the AWS CLI changes on me, and then that just sucks. This doesn't change quite as much, which is nice. But yeah, it basically allows me to write all this code down here instead of like just scripting the AWS CLI directly. It's like personal preference is most of it. Okay, so anything else I want? Everything else is optional in here. So for our cache policy ID, the unique identifier of the cache policy that is attached to the cache behavior. See what their example is. You have, okay, the allowed methods, cache methods, target origin ID, forwarded values, query string false, cookies, forward none. Well, I guess like if I just do this, I can take a look through when it creates it to sort of like see if I like it or not. So I'll just do the bare minimum to get it going. Enabled. A Boolean, a flag that specifies whether origin shield is enabled. So I was looking through this. Apparently you get charged extra for origin shield. So I'm going to start with it on false. With the understanding that if people keep on like DDoSing me or some other bad stuff is like happening, then I'll need to turn that on. Origins. Okay. Origins is an array of these objects. Okay, so we're going to have domain name, the DNS domain name of either the S3 bucket or your website of your custom origin. The DNS domain name, okay, so this one, no, this one. So I have platform front end bucket. And I have bucket domain name in here. And then origin ID, I believe is that platform CloudFront origin ID. Nothing else required, right? So, oh, restrictions is next. Restrictions is a object. Geo restriction. You're an object. Restriction type. The method that you want to use to restrict distribution of your content by country. So I can have a none, whitelist, or blacklist. I'm going to have none for this. And then we're good there. Good here. Viewer certificate. Okay, so what are you? Oh, and this will be it. Distribution viewer certificate. The SSL configuration for this distribution, maximum 1. Okay, so oh, all of these are optional. But I bet it's going to yell at me if I try to do this without it in here. So if I say go. All right, so now if I tried to do this, so if I use, I need to be in the right directory for this. I'm gonna do a Pulumi up. This is like infrastructure as code. This is exactly infrastructure as code. So it allows me to write code that controls AWS. This also allows me to commit this into GitHub repo and also use CI/CD on it. So eventually we can have like the Pulumi up command happen in GitHub Actions. All right, so this says it's going to try to create a CloudFront distribution. Let's do it. Try it. Failed. The parameter forwarded values is required for something. Okay, forwarded values. Somewhere. Where is forwarded values? Forwarded values is in default cache behavior. Well, that's interesting. You need to write a bash script that does something like this for AWS Lightsail. Yeah, so like regardless of what it is, if it is the AWS CLI, if it is something like just write a script to do this for you so you don't have to like click through the GUI is pretty huge because it also is part of that like write once, do it right, make no mistakes the next time you do it, especially if you have to like spin up multiple of these over time. Okay, so ordered values. Okay, so we need. Now you're not telling me exactly where the problem is. Do we have something in here? No, so no forwarded values in there. Let's try forwarded values in here. Forwarded values, you're an object. Okay, so cookies. The forwarded values, cookies that specifies how CloudFront handles cookies. Which is, this is another full type. Forward. It's a string. Oh, you can specify all, none, or whitelist. For right now, let's forward all the cookies. Query string. You're a Boolean. Indicates whether you want CloudFront to forward query strings to the origin that is associated with this cache behavior. I believe we do. So true. How did I figure out this Pulumi? So I learned about Pulumi when I was watching the Free Code Camp channel. I just sort of noticed that they had a control AWS using, cloud code as infrastructure. And it's been something I've been interested in, and it was something I was trying to figure out how to bring into my my day job and like have there. So I watched it. I saw that they're using Pulumi with Python. So I looked into it a little bit more, talked to my team a bit about it. We got it really excited about doing something like this. And so we're experimenting with there as well. This DevOps work, what do you do at the moment? So I'm a technical team lead. So basically I'm a manager, I'm a leader, I'm also a programmer, where I'm in charge of like web services. It's only one team, so basically just all web services falls under me right now. And that's going to be like APIs that the other applications hit, tooling and like little web apps that other people internally need, and then also external faced web applications. So like, you know, the actual product that, or I guess not like for us, it's not really the product. It's more of like a thing that you can go like and get reports, like other things. That's what I'm in charge of. Okay, so here's forwarded values inside of here. I'm curious if Origins is gonna need that also. Do you have a forwarded values? No, you don't. Okay, so this might work. Okay, so we're gonna create this. Let's go ahead and try it. I've actually gotten a request to create a tutorial on using Pulumi with AWS. So it's actually something I'm considering. There's still a little bit more that I need to learn for it to like really be confident that I'm sending people down the correct path. But if it does work, then I'd be happy to do that. That being said, I think the main distinction that I'll have is probably doing some realistic scenarios, which does mean you get charged money. I've noticed that a lot of the tutorials, especially on YouTube, don't charge any money. Like what I mean is they send you like they're only using the free tier stuff. They don't have you do anything else. I don't know if I would use, yeah, I would probably want to use either CloudWatch or send the logs to an S3 bucket. Something like that. All right, so your viewer certificate is missing one of, okay, so now it's saying, hey, you have this viewer certificate, but you're missing one of, oh, that's why they're all question marks. I need something like these. Let's do the CloudFront default certificate. And you are a Boolean, so true. Everything what they show on YouTube is not production ready. That's often the case. Which makes it a little bit difficult to sort of like learn how to do it for your company, especially if you're working in the startup and you don't have other people around that have done this before. All right, so. And some of this type of stuff is considered secret sauce for some companies, because they feel like the ability to deploy often, the ability to deploy quickly and securely, those are all like competitive advantages. Twisted Seed, hello, DevOps Day. We sort of like transitioned into DevOps because we finished with the first part, which is getting triangles going. So our web app now has triangles in the background, and it wasn't that hard to sort of set up and figure out. All right, let's see if this makes it any happier. Ooh, I actually see it being created in the GUI. So it's actually, this is going to work, I would expect. So I suppose that it actually waits until it's fully deployed out. So an interesting thing about CloudFront. CloudFront is itself isn't really a service, or like it doesn't necessarily do anything directly itself, but it spins up other things for you and like gets that going. So it's I think like the best way that I've heard it described is it's a CDN and content delivery network essentially. So it allows me to say, here are these files. I want you to cache them and make them available to anybody in the same region that they are. That's of course if I configure it that way. So if I think United States, North America, so United States, Canada, Mexico, they're all going to be under like the default base region. And then there's another region which is in Europe. So that's like England, Germany, France, like that area of Europe. And then there's the Russian region. I don't know if it's at just like Eastern European region. There's an Asian region. There's like a bunch of different ones. You can serve static content with CloudFront. Exactly. So it basically, I'm going to take a file from S3 and I'm just going to push it up. So I'm going to put my u.rs, I'm going to build it and then put all the compiled files into S3 bucket. And then CloudFront is going to look at that and then serve those out for me. So it's essentially a backend for my front end. All right, so this finished. We got this created. And now what I want to do is sort of look through this. Can it also serve dynamic content? It's kind of counter to the point of CloudFront, because the idea is that it's caching all this stuff to make it cheaper to, because it's cheaper to serve from CloudFront than it is to serve directly from S3. So if I create an S3 bucket and I put my website in there, you can all hit it and it will work. Like you'll see the website, everything will work exactly as expected. One problem, you get charged per gigabyte. Might even be less than that. You get charged like per fraction of a gigabyte too of data being passed, through, out and in of S3. So every time you hit it, I get charged a fraction of a penny, which sucks because then that's going to become really expensive. CloudFront caches that so it doesn't read from S3 every time somebody hits it, which makes it a lot cheaper. And so moving out of CloudFront is fractions of a penny on the fractions of a penny that S3 is. Does that make sense? Diablo D3, I think that's correct. I think, well, no, wait, no, US West, no, that's not correct. ABS, CloudFront. They actually have a list, and I think all of North America is one of them. Let's see, that might be it. Oh, pricing is probably the easiest one to look into for this. So here's the regions that I can select. We have Mexico, United States, Mexico, and Canada, so North America. Europe and Israel is another one. That's the same pricing. We have South Africa, Kenya, and the Middle East, South America, Japan, Australia, and New Zealand, Hong Kong, Indonesia, Philippines, Singapore, South Korea, Taiwan, and Thailand, and India. Interesting. So China's not on this list. Well, Hong Kong, almost, but not the greater China. That's wacky. That doesn't align with any of their existing AWS regions. I know, it's super interesting. For pricing in China, please check the China pricing page. Okay, so they have a special thing for China. But so these prices are for the first 10 terabytes. I am charged basically 8.5 cents per gigabyte transferred out. Oh, AWS China is basically their own isolated AWS. That makes sense. That explains that. Okay. And so you can see it gets more and more expensive. Essentially, the farther away we get. But each of these are not like the AWS regions, but they're areas where CloudFront exists and like has their servers. So Europe is cheap and North America is cheap. So there's that. So if any of you are in Europe, have any of you run into the issue where you go into a website and it's just slow for no good reason? Like it just is slow. It might be that they're hosting it on the United States server, and your traffic is going to United States server, getting the data and then transferring back, and that's slow. If I were to put the server closer to you, it would then be fast again. This is a way for me to do that. Surprise CloudFront isn't more granular. I guess they're only serving content that has no legal concerns. Yeah, I think that must, well, that's up to me, right? Like, well, okay. The thing is that I can geo-restrict on top of that. So that probably takes care of the legal concerns. So I can say, look, even in those regions, restrict down even further. So like, don't allow, what is it? It's, is it like Switzerland that doesn't allow loot boxes? One of the European countries has like really locked down on loot boxes, which is why you don't see games like that new Diablo Immortal in there at all. The AWS boundaries in South Asia are basically legal regimes, for example. Oh, interesting. Several countries don't in the EU now. So let's say I decided for my platform, like I'm teaching stuff, and I'm like, I decide to go full out, like evil, addict you to like learning, and I do loot boxes. I would probably then have to restrict based upon geo, for the specific countries that would then say, nope, you can't do that. I don't plan on going full evil, so I'm gonna leave the restrictions none for right now. Maybe sometime in the future. Maybe we can experiment with going evil later. All right, so a couple things that I'm missing here. First of all, a description is missing, so I want to add that in. I don't see a description here. Huh, I don't even see a description here. Let's see if we can find one. Oh, it's probably a comment. Probably a comment. So a comment is just a string, and this is going to be CloudFront distribution for the Brooks Builds platform. So the really cool thing about using something like Pulumi here is that when I make a change and I do another Pulumi up, Netherlands, Belgium, Japan outright ban. China and UK have very restrictive laws. And I think California is working on a law now, which will effectively make it banned in the US. Yeah, California. That will be very interesting to see. I kind of like look forward to that. Okay, so notice the big thing is they're going to do a diff of just a comment. So this should be significantly faster than the last time we ran this, where it was like spinning up everything. Oh, and it's interesting. I actually already see the description now in the front end, in the GUI. So it happens, and then it's probably just verifying that it's working before it returns. So next up, interesting. So price class. By default, use all edge locations, best performance. So all edge locations is all of these, every single one, which is obviously going to be the most expensive. So out of a really quick poll here, can any of you tell me where you are just in these? I want to restrict it to just ones that you all have access to right now. Later on, we can open it up more once, like, if I'm making money with this, then obviously it's going to be easy for me to add that in there. US, okay. Well, I think I have to do US. I have to like choose at least one, and US is default. I think no matter what, you get that one. I am US too, yes. Other AWS services, they charge 0.09 for 1 gigabyte traffic. Why do they charge less for CloudFront? So they're charging less for CloudFront because it's like this cached service, and it saves. It's one of these things where it saves AWS money. So like, it's kind of a win-win, right? So AWS sets up all these things in these like what they call edge locations, which is just a server farm nearby your users. So let's say I have a user in South America. The code, like the indexed HTML, the CSS files, the HTML, all of that stuff gets stored in that server there and cached, and then just served out of there, which is super cheap for them for their S3 back in the States where they're hosting it. They're hosting it. So they give me a little bit of a discount by making it cheaper, as long as they don't have to do as much work. Does that make sense? They still make money off of it, but they're giving me a discount because I'm saving them money by doing it. So it's a classic example of a company attempting to modify behavior through offering different money incentives, and it works. There's also other reasons to do it too. So you get 1 terabyte free traffic. This is worth $90. Oh yeah, that's true. In here, it's like, is it like the first terabyte is free or something like that? there's some there's like very interesting things in here. It's like so hard to read some of this sometimes. I am not doing a dedicated IP. That is way too much money. Oh, they have like pricing examples of what this might be like. Well, they do have free tier for CloudFront. Yeah, I think CloudFront is one of those things where CloudFront itself doesn't necessarily cost you any or much money at all, but rather they spin up other things that like cost you money. Londo Spark subscribed with a tier 1 sub for 3 months. Thank you so much again for the 3 months of support. That's awesome. Thank you. I know, 3 whole months. Let's see. What else do we have in here? Oh yeah, price class. Oh, here's the price classes thing. Okay, so price class all, that's what I have right now. And that's yes to everything. Price class 200 is United States, Europe, and Israel. South Africa, Kenya, and Middle East. That's interesting too. And Japan. A decent amount of Asia and India. So basically not Australia, New Zealand, not South America. And then of course, price class 100 if you're just being cheap. Which I might go with price class 100 right now just to be super, super cheap while I'm developing this. But I think something that I'm going to want to do is set up logging. Okay, so I'm gonna add this into my backlog. I want to set up logging for what is it called? Regional, like regional sources, like locations. That traffic is coming from. And then sort of updating the context for that is so I can know what CloudFront's price class to switch to. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the cheapest one, so price class 100. And then I'm going to track origins, and then over time, if I like see you all like, you know, joining from like Europe and Israel or Japan or something else like that, I will then switch that over. If also you're using this in the future and you somehow also happen to see this VOD, I'll probably have to do like another video to like specifically say, hey, if you're in this area and you're getting like really crappy performance, let me know and I'll open it up to you. What tool am I using for task management? I am using GitHub Projects, and specifically the GitHub Projects beta. So it looks like this for me. So this is the new ticket that I just created. So I created a little context tag in here, so it gives me just a little tiny bit more information, and then I haven't refined it, so I don't have any information inside of here. All right, so price class, that's the next thing. Price class, is that a string? That is a string, and I want price class 100. Okay, supported HTTP versions. We have HTTP 2, HTTP 1.1, and HTTP 1.0. All of those are supported. That's fine. AWS WAF. I don't think I have to care about that. Alternate domain names. Might want to do something like that. Am I using milestones? I have not been using milestones so far. Right now, I am using the GitHub projects to sort of combine together a bunch of different repos into a single one. So like issues across multiple repos become like just are now issues in that same board, which is actually really nice because it's essentially stuff I'm doing for the show. So I'm using a mono repo for the platform, but I am using a essentially repo per course or track as well. So having them all sort of track together and like, hey, a user requested, updates to this course, that also goes into the same project. Alternate domain names. So alternate domain names. I kind of wish they put this. So there's not often that I sort of like feel that I want. Oh, you know what? This isn't that long. They should not allow this to go up off the top of the screen, or like they should not allow it to go behind this search. But okay, alternate domain name. So we have origins domain name like that. That's fine. I don't see anything in here. I mean, they can fix that with JavaScript. If they always know what the size of this is, they can fix that with CSS too, by just having that that top have like just a dynamic margin at the top. I feel like they fixed this to the top of the screen, and like it's nifty that they have this sort of like see-through, but I really don't like, this is not usable space. They might as well just make this a nav bar. I know I could add the custom CSS, but I'm just gonna complain about it and do nothing. Like a normal good user. Okay. I am looking for alternate domain names. And I do wonder if viewer certificate, complaining about it is also a valid response. I could complain to them about it. I could like start up a conversation with them and like see if they would fix it that way. Responses. Huh, okay, so this is alternate domain names. Okay, so, the following state arguments are supported: aliases, extra CNAMEs, alternate domain names, if any, for this distribution. Ah, okay. Oh, wait, this is looking up an existing resource. Wait a second. It's not what I want. Oh, inputs here. Aliases, extra CNAMEs, alternate domain names, if any, for this distribution. So I wonder if I can do something like just brooksbuilds.com, and let me double check my exact domain. Yeah, okay. So it's all one word, brooksbuilds.com. It's Pulumi free. So it is, it's like that. Let's just go to the pricing. I'll show you. They don't even have a pricing up here. Have to go over here. So pricing is free for individuals, and I don't even know if you have to sign in for it. If you create an account, basically it's just you, and like everything works as you sort of expect it to work for. Then it gets more interesting when you start getting into these things. Does Pulumi needs you AWS token to create this for you? So you sign in with your AWS token locally, and then it uses that locally on your system. It doesn't send your token up to them, and then they do it on their servers. All the work is actually happening on my computer. So I think I can do aliases here. Yeah, aliases. Here an array of strings, I think. Yeah. So we can do brooksbuilds.com and possibly www.brooksbuilds.com. I wonder if it will accept that or if I need to do something else. Technically, they can read your token and send it to your servers. I mean, so like technically, so if we want to get into that, if you ever sign in to AWS, like they store your token on your computer, and so now that can be read by anything on your computer, and the same thing can happen. Now, if they were to create 1,000 services and give me a gigantic bill, I would probably be going online and like telling a lot of places that, hey, Pulumi did this to me. Here's the proof that they did it. Here's the logs. Here's everything. And I would basically try to put that out there as much as possible. I do have AWS budget set up with budget alerts. So basically I would be getting the emails right away from AWS as soon as something like that happened. Plus also, budget is my landing page for AWS. So whenever I log in, I just see that. If they do that, I can see AWS banning them and fraud charges happening. I could see that too. Nobody would be willing to like sell their product essentially. Okay, so I can't use the Pulumi certificate at all. I can't use a Pulumi certificate. I have to do it with I have to create my own if I want to use aliases like this. So viewer certificate is going to be, this has to be false. And then we have to do an ACM certificate. You are a ACM certificate ARN. Okay, so up here now, I need to create a new ACM certificate. So this is going to be a Brooks Builds certificate. Arguments apparently are optional here. So I can just do this. And that would work. So then they're going to be the Brooks build certificate.arn. AWS is the biggest scam. All prices are without VAT. The final bill is much bigger than the prices you see on the website. It definitely can balloon out pretty well. I don't know if I would call that a scam, but it is not fun when something like that can happen, and being very careful with using it is absolutely required. Okay, so you need these. You must have these things, but the type system isn't requiring it, which is a little bit too bad. So we need to have this up. Okay, so invalid combination of arguments. So okay. All right. This is gonna be the next thing that we're gonna work on, but I am gonna have to leave this for tomorrow because I have a meeting coming up in 15 minutes that I have to get ready for. You feel like all cloud providers have price management issues. You had pretty big issues with Azure too. Yeah, I think they all have that. Every single one. Even ones like DigitalOcean, where they say like, oh, you're like, it's a fixed price things, but you still need to like balloon out the services. And there's like, it's going to cost you a lot more to like actually have everything running production ready than just what you're like initially thinking you will. Like, oh, I can get away with like $5 or $10 a month. It's like, no, you won't. It's going to be like $15 to $20 per month minimum. Yeah, the one thing you always recommend is setting up budgets first and close monitoring. Absolutely. Highly recommended to do. Oh, so it's doing that. And then the second thing is set up two-factor authentication on your root account. Then create, even if it's just an admin account that has access to everything, create that as your main driver and set up two-factor authentication on that too. As long as the cost is fixed, you can plan for it. Yeah, that's, I mean, that is true. If the cost is fixed, you can plan for it. But if it's also too expensive, then you can't afford it. They're now $6. And the other thing is like, you want backups, that's an extra $1. So your $5 already was $6. And so now it's going to be $7, I guess. Okay, so anyways, I need to find, see, I don't have anybody online right now. So anyways, I need to get off, because I have this thing going on like 13 minutes now. So, sorry for having to run really quickly, but I was able to get online half an hour early. So tomorrow I should be back, now, normally I'm online at 7 a.m. I'm experimenting with like, maybe I can wake up earlier and then start like a little bit earlier. I don't know. Maybe yes, maybe no. So if you want to be notified when I go online, I would love it if you followed the channel. Otherwise, I also tweet out when I go online or have it on my Discord, or you can just sort of like, just see me on Twitch whenever I'm online. So with that, thank you so much for hanging out with me today. Thank you again for the subscription, and also with that, have a great rest of your day. Bye.